Ibrahim Al-Marashi joins us now from San Diego in the U.S. He's an Iraq analyst and an associate professor at the Department of History at California State University. Good to have you on the program with us, Professor. With the benefit of hindsight of 31 years, how did the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait change the fate for the people of Iraq?
I think the invasion of Kuwait gave the U.S. the first justification to deploy its forces in the region on a massive scale. And we see from 1991 to 2021, the U.S. has been in the region in some way or the other. And it's not until very recently that Iraq and the U.S. have finally said the American troops are finally going to start withdrawing. So that's a couple of decades of the U.S. dictating the fate of Iraq, its people, its destiny.
And how did the Iraqi invasion shape the region as a whole in the decades that followed?
Number one was the first time a Arab state tried to invade and incorporate another one entirely, and not since the rise of Daesh have borders been tried to be manipulated by military force. So it set a precedent. Number two, it gave an impetus to finally deal with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. The two-state solution emerged, and we're seeing now, over a couple of decades, its final demise. And it gave the region, it sharply divided the region around a single issue. We haven't seen the region being that divided ever since.
When Iraq invaded Kuwait, we did see a majority of Arab countries work together despite ideological and political differences. Now, given the deep divisions of today, do you think that we could ever see something of that kind of cooperation now?
No. So back then, you were either supporting Iraq or against it. In this case, you had a brief cooperation, but not that mobilization in the terms of fighting Daesh. But the rise of Iran, for example, hasn't led to a similar mobilization. So that was really one of the most defining times in kind of creating a bipolar moment in the Middle East. You are either supporting the U.S. mission to evict Iraq from Kuwait or not.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think the future looks like for the Iraqi people? There's been so much conflict, and they've dealt with decades of this. Is there hope that there could be stability?
As it seems that there might be hope in terms of stability in regards to the political situation. Daesh has been defeated. Iraq is now in a position to not depend entirely on U.S. forces. I think the next step now or the next phase is environmental challenges, whether it's COVID-19 or the fluctuations that's going to come from climate change. And unfortunately, those fluctuations do not bode well for Iraq's future.
And what about lasting scars for the larger region and economy? What is still there because of all of this?
The lasting scars, I would say, it's not so much felt on the region, but in Iraq itself. I don't think Iraq's infrastructure ever recovered from that decade of sanctions. The deprivation, the mental scars, the flight of its educated middle class that happened after the 1991 Gulf War due to sanctions. Iraq has never recovered from that. Those are the scars.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Ibrahim Al-Marashi joining us from San Diego, talking about 31 years since the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait.